We are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and once again, we hop in the DeLorean to travel back to 1966 for this season's YesterYear Tour Modifieds with some of the best Tour Mod drivers will compete for one of the most prestigious and unique titles on the iRacing platform, the Old Red Boot. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, J.R. Shepard. We're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of EGN, the absolute best at bringing all the sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneker. Last week, the boys had a 250-lap showdown at the Langley Speedway where we saw all sorts of action, along with a first-time winner, Eric Essery. Double E managed to survive the mayhem and stand atop the pile of rubble, but at the very bottom of that rubble was points leader Tom Ogle. Ogle found himself in an early incident, leading to him having the first DNF. This allowed the veteran Kenny Allen to cut the points lead down to a mere 7. And now with 5 races to go in the quest for the boot, we expect things to get even crazier as we head north for 200 laps at the Oxford Plains Speedway. The date was September 18th, 1966. It was a warm, sunny Sunday afternoon where those in attendance would witness a track record 17.27 second lap set by Ernie Grahan, leading to the pole. The 300-lap event saw 5 cautions, one of which sent Fred DeSaro to the hospital with a broken leg along with kidney injuries. Massachusetts native Don McTavish would take the lead on lap 270 and hold on to beat Hop Harrington in front of a crowd of 8,000 fans. Don would bring home a heaping $3,200, the equivalent of about $31,000 in today's money. Now, JR, I mentioned that record lap time, and not to shame Mr. Grahan, but times have changed, and I think tonight we're going to be seeing sub 15-second lap times. We're also going to have a new driver this week, but I do believe you've raced with this guy, and not only do we expect big things from him, so does Mr. Hubble AI as they've picked James Lowe for the win tonight. What are your thoughts, and what do you expect as we go 200 laps in Maine at the Oxford Plains Speedway?
Well, Shaggy, this is a tough field with a lot of bull ring style drivers that are in it, and I think this race may show the Hubble AI to be wrong for once. But we'll have to see how it plays out, because tonight it's going to be frustrating for many of these drivers. This place is 3/8 of a mile in length, but only 9 degrees of banking. And the drivers, they will be turning left almost the entire time around this track. That, along with that narrow racing groove on the inside, is going to make it super tough to pass tonight, which means I expect to see that chrome horn being used throughout the race. The bottom of the track, that's where you need to be, and sometimes moving that driver ahead of you out of the way is the only way to make a pass around a place like this. But Shaggy, the easiest way, and you know this, the easiest way to get to the front is to start out front. I know these drivers have 200 laps here, but this may be the most important qualifying session of the season, especially if you want a realistic chance to win here tonight.
Yeah, and well, JR, hot off the presses here as we'll bring up the points list. Tom Ogle got an EOL here, got to start in the back. I think there was a little feud going on throughout the week. He gets a penalty, and man, what is this going to do? Is Ken Allen 7 points behind? Ken, he's got to go out here and qualify, man. I think track position is going to be everything tonight, right?
It's going to be almost everything. Now, it's not impossible to come through the field or past drivers here, but it is super tough, and it can literally take you 50 laps trying to work somebody over to make a pass. So definitely Tom Ogle, points leader, having to come from the back. That is big news, not only because of how hard it is to pass, but that puts you in the most vulnerable position at the start of this race. If a caution comes out, you could be right in the thick of that caution.
Well, I think qualifying, getting ready to close off here as the music wraps up. We'll get ready to bring up your starting lineup in surprising front row here, JR. The pole, Scott Negus to the outside, Ryan Pittman.
Absolutely. Rolling off inside of row 2, James Lowe on the outside, Ken Allen.
And, I've been calling him Mr. Excitement all year, but I just realized it's Mr. Aggressive when you were doing the interview last week. Chris Davis on the inside of row 3 to the top shelf, Jerry Isaacs.
Rolling off in 7th, we got the 22, Bruce Pearson, and on the outside in 8th, the 13 of Josh Buckley.
Double E, Eric Essery on the inside of row 5 to the outside, Brian Johnson.
Inside row 6, we got Todd Liston, who's had a good season so far. Outside in 12th, Brian Bianchi.
Tom Ogle, he's going to have to go to the back here, I believe. He's on the inside of row 7, though, for the grid. Jeff Lemeyer to the outside.
Rolling off in 15th tonight, we got Randy Schuler. Outside in 16th, Alan Wanamaker.
Torrance Childs and Steve Hilbert going to make up row 9.
Inside row 10, we got Chris Hazlip in that 93 car. Outside in the 19, Dustin Martinson.
Thomas Hilbert and Gavin Adams going to round out the field in row 11. And we are about set to go here, JR. 200 laps, 14 seconds around this place. Maybe 15 as the tires start to age. This is going to go quick here as the pace truck pulls off. The green flag's high. She's ready to fly. We're underway. 200 laps to play.
Absolutely. And right now, priority number 1 is getting to the bottom of the track. We can see up front, we've got Pittman and Negus. They are racing each other hard because they know how important that is. And Pittman's in a vulnerable position. He's got to either make this pass or jump in that hole that's right behind Negus.
Now, how important is it, JR? If you're up front, I would say right now, even in the top 10, personally, I don't think you can come in for tires here, even if we have a caution. I think you got to commit, take the track position. And what does that mean here? I mean, how do you pace yourself but have a little pace out here at the same time?
It's tough. Let me be clear. It's super tough around this place because the one thing that you're going to experience is this car is going to go through some handling changes. It's going to start to get a little bit tighter. So starting out, this car is a little bit free on entry into the corners. It's going to be tight through the center, and then it's going to start to jump loose as you apply that throttle on exit. As we get into the run, 100 laps in, that car is going to start to get a lot tighter, and it all depends on how much steering input you put into it, the speed you've carried into the corners, things that you have done up to that point. That will create those handling issues or non-issues for you. So the way you take care of it, you've got to control that corner entry speed. The only good thing for these drivers tonight is this track, it's so flat, you're not carrying a whole lot of speed to begin with. So it's going to be a little easier to do that, but you've got to keep it on the bottom. We see Chris Hazlip out here on the outside. If you get stuck on the outside for a long period, you're going to overheat that right front tire.
Yeah, and the lipper's stuck on the outside. Ken Allen looked like he was going to get back to the inside, but he gets shoved to the outside one more time. And we got the 30 of Gavin Adams. He's slow off the pace. Not going to lose a lap. Gets back out there, but boy, oh boy, Ken Allen finally gets in line. But Ken Allen, it seemed like he was up there for a lifetime, JR. Stuck up there 8 laps, and now look, the 88 here, I believe. Is that the 88? Pittman stuck to the outside.
Yeah, Pittman had some issues in the last couple of laps. Went a little wide in one of the corners. That let Lowe by, and now Chris Davis, and you see Jerry Isaacs working him over on the inside right now. So if you ever get stuck on that outside, you have to do everything you can to get back down to the bottom. Otherwise, you will just get freight trained.
And I feel like, oh, man, as we see the contact there, Pittman a little bit. If you're going to pinch the guy down, JR, me personally, from what I'm thinking, looking at it up top, you got to do it on corner entry. You can't try to meet the guy in the middle there once he's established. You got to kind of upset him a little bit. If you make a little contact, maybe you can pick up that accelerator a little early or possibly pinch him off the exit. But, man, you don't want to meet him down there in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a track that you obviously want to be on that inside line right against the curb. But even though you're running right against the curb, the fastest way is for that inside car to move up a little bit in the center and do almost of a diamond type line. So if you're that outside car and you try to meet them in the middle, there's probably going to be contact. You need to do exactly like you said, come in as shallow as you can. Oh, we see some contact there, I think, between Liston and Pittman. Pittman's finally going to get down. But, yeah, absolutely. You need to come in shallow if you're that outside car. And another reason for doing that here is that there's absolutely no grip on that outside. The higher you enter the corner, the less grip you have throughout the rest of the corner.
Now, not so much, I would say, coming out of 2, but do you think we see guys eventually, there we saw it on the top of the screen, flirt with those cones a little bit, using the bottom there to help rotate the car, or is that going to upset the balance too much?
Yeah, my advice on a modified, whether it's the SK or these Tour modifieds, is to stay off of that curb or anywhere down where those cones are. So if you make contact with that curb down there, I know it looks very, you see them bouncing around right there. It really upsets the car. When Negus hit that curb as we were riding on board with him, it threw him up the track. And keep in mind, he barely touched it. If you get your entire tire on that curbing, it will actually bottom the car out. And in a lot of cases, it'll slide you right around like you're on ice. So I've done it before. I tell you, it's not fun, and it's very easy to do. It sounds simple, stay off that curb, but that's where all the grip is. That's where the speed is. You want to be as close as you can.
Now you can see Negus kind of open up there coming off of 4, and probably wants to do that to, maybe try to save a little bit of right front tire, but he's opening that door for Mr. Hubble AI's pick. The 99 of James Lowe. He didn't take the shot, but you got to think here, JR, if he keeps doing that as the laps start to tick off here, I mean, he may take his shot because the 99 committed to the bottom. Meanwhile, Negus really wants to arc it in there.
Yeah, and that's where, if you don't have anybody behind you, you can get away with that top of a line. Once somebody gets close enough to you, like we're seeing here on the screen, you've got to change the way that you're driving, and you have to focus on staying on the bottom and primarily focus on corner exit. You can see from that screenshot how much higher Scott is than James. You've got to be able to exit low and straight and can apply that throttle up off the corners in order to keep these guys from getting in there. But as we're riding on board with Chris Davis, you can see Chris, he's already looking as well. So that's going to make James a little anxious. He's kind of the meat in the sandwich here, and he's got to figure something out.
Yes, James blinks a little bit there. And obviously, it's all part of the sport and the chess match, which is racing. But, if you're JR, or if you're JR, you are JR. But JR, if you're Scott Negus, are you playing any games, maybe backing up corner entry here, trying to bring those two behind you into possibly a battle? I'm not necessarily good at it, but when I am out front, you got to play games sometime to get other people to use their stuff up. And is it maybe too early to think about that as we got a car sideways? Jerry Isaacs, no caution flag there on the infield. We continue, but boy, looked like it maybe could have been caution worthy.
Yeah, I'll get back to your question just a minute, but you see right here, he caught that curb and spun around. Now, the one thing about Oxford Plains is that if you spin toward that infield, the caution normally does not come out. So this is something we could see quite a bit of, and drivers lose a lot of track position like Jerry Isaacs right there. But to get back to your question up front, I don't think that that's Scott's primary objective, but I do think it's playing into his hands. So I don't think that you necessarily want to back drivers up this early in the race, but at the same time, you need to take care of your stuff. So if somebody's right on your tail, you're not worried about it. You're worried about keeping that handling going. And in return, it could get those guys behind you racing.
See that 15 of Jeff Lemeyer working to the inside of Torrance Childs. Torrance has to put up a little fight here. He's going to lose more than one. Is Tom Ogle, you remember we brought him up, EOL, he is your points leader. He's already clicked off a bunch of guys. Would have had to start. Double E started from the pit, so we had 21 guys. He's got 7 guys, Tom Ogle, up to 14th. Impressive run here early, but right now, you can see JR there just stuck side by side racing in front of him.
Absolutely, and that means you've got nothing you can do. So the worst thing that Tom can do in that situation is to overdrive the car and get his tires hot. This is an opportunity for you to cool your tires down. You see these guys racing ahead, there's nowhere you can go. So cool your stuff down, get the car handling back the way you need it down on that inside line. When there's an opportunity that opens up, you'll be able to capitalize on it because these other drivers ahead of you, they've been racing hard and their tires are hot.
Oh boy, Jeff really checked up there. Looked like Tom almost got to the back of him. He was able to kind of send it up the racetrack. It looked like he overdrove the corner, but That was for wreck avoidance here as Alan Wanamaker looks to the inside of Brian Bianchi. Or excuse me, Randy Schuler. Is I need to learn how to read. That's a 31, not a 14. But in my defense here, producer, I'm watching it in the zoomed out TV3 here, trying to get a big view of everything because it's allowing me to see those front three kind of get pulled in by Ken Allen a little bit. Ken Allen, remember, JR, he was stuck on the outside early, fell back to, I want to say, 6th or 7th. And to be back up here in 4th, running down these front three, Ken Allen's ready to go. But Lemire and the 5 of Torrance Childs, they're just going right back at it one more time. And, man, you know, JR, not that I'd be telling Torrance what to do here if I'm his spotter, but I'd almost say, hey, man, we got a long way to go. Maybe just let him have this thing for now.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we talked about it just a little while ago. Being on that outside lap after lap after lap, it really heats up your tires. So when you are finally able to get back down to the bottom, you're not able to run the line you want to run, and you end up drifting up, and that gives the guys behind you opportunities to make passes. So it's not a good thing to be stuck in that outside line. If you're out there, you want to get down as soon as possible.
Now, Bruce had a little hiccup there, shuffled to the outside. I was going to say, JR, and I almost interrupted you because I was going to say this, man, he's going to do the opposite. He's going to save his stuff. He's just going to let these guys go. And what does the Double Deuce do? He proves me wrong. He is fighting back on the outside, and honestly, right now, he's doing a pretty good job, which tells me he probably has been saving his stuff, but just one little hiccup, and I don't know if he's ready to give up that spot to Liston just yet. As a car re-enters out there on the high side, I can't tell who that is. Gavin Adams. Boy, oh boy, I don't know how he got there. I'm going to do some rewinding. So you see, he got high through 3 and 4, got in those marbles you were talking about, JR, and just never got back down the racetrack. And you can see momentum will carry you. You mentioned barely any banking. And, oh, man, that's a tough break there for Gavin.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to get worse. So, I mean, we're only on lap 45 right now, and you can see the amount of marbles that have accumulated on that high side. So there is very little grip on corner entry if you're on the high line, the 3rd, 4th lane on entry like he was, but add in the marbles and there's nothing you can do about it. The car literally just goes straight like we saw there in the replay, and you're going to be off in the weeds. So he was very fortunate that he was able to get back on the racetrack without making some type of contact with another vehicle.
Man, Bruce lost that spot to Josh Buckley, and now it looks like he's going to lose another one here to Bianchi. Now Alan Wanamaker joining the train here, and Bruce Pearson is going to lose all 4 of those spots as we watch those 4 side by side, 2 by 2. The 31 slides up the racetrack there of Randy Schuler, and oh boy, he's still up there, JR. He's going to have to get down.
Yeah, and you know, it's anxious times because as a driver, you know how critical track position is, and you do not want to lose any position, so that's why you continue to race hard when you're stuck on the outside. But man, these drivers, I really encourage them that if they have an opening behind the car that's on that inside lane, to just back off and get back in line, go race another day, because it is going to chew up your tires. More importantly, it's going to overheat your tires, and when you overheat the tires in these modifieds, you lose all grip, all rotation through the center of the corner like you need.
You can see the 25 of Tom Hilbert able to clear Dustin Martinson. Dustin right behind him just clipped the apron one more time. He's able to gather it in, but man, some of these guys fighting a loose race car already. Jerry Isaacs, he's trying to work back up by the 13. Remember, we saw him get loose, go to the infield here. This is a pretty good recovery for Jerry, but he's going to need help from a caution here, JR, and we're already a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to have something to help you get caught back up. No matter how fast you are, if you lose tons of track position, you're not going to be able to make it up on your own here unless something really weird happens, and I don't anticipate that. But yeah, this is one of those tracks where track position is super critical. Not only if you're a car that's out front, but if you're a car that's running 5th or 6th, you want to be as close to that leader as possible, because you just can't make up the ground. At some point, these guys are going to be in traffic because of the lap cars. We've seen some of it already, but they're going to be in more of it. And that is opportunities for you to kind of capitalize and either gain time or potentially lose time. And that's what we're going to have to keep an eye on as we get into these laps. Probably around lap 100, so we're going to see a lot of that start to come into play.
Yeah, we see Liston on the outside, and I believe Josh Buckley on the inside working it. Oh, almost made some contact, and we don't have to click away from this, but you did hit the nail on the head there, JR, because our leader, we're almost, I mean, he can see lap traffic. He's less than a half a second ahead. So going to get interesting because, I mean, we've mentioned so many times this season, if you go a lap down, your race is all but over. I mean, that's the dagger, and you can't just pull over and let that leader go by. So, you know, we may see some tempers get set off here tonight.
Absolutely, and that's where that chrome horn bit that I talked about in the opening comes from. You don't want to hit somebody with that bumper. You definitely don't want to wreck or spin anybody, but you're going to get desperate because in this league, there are no waiver rounds. There's no getting your lap back, no lucky dog situations, even if we have a caution. So staying on that lead lap is important, and you're going to race that leader. And at some point, the leaders or the lead lap cars are going to get frustrated, and they're going to make some contact, try to get you out of the way. And it's situations like that that sometimes turn into some contact that is unfavorable for multiple drivers.
And Dustin Martinson made it easy on the front two. He did let them go by. Liston finally gives up, falls in line there behind Buckley. You can see the front two there. Oh, we got a slow car high. Torrance Childs, no caution. We continue. Leaders go by. Torrance going to stay up and out of the way, but let's take a look, see what happened here, JR.
Yeah, watching the replay here, see Torrance, and this is something that both of those drivers got really lucky because I've seen that play out differently in other leagues, but Torrance definitely got into the corner a little hot. The car pushed up, and some of that is from the handling of this car changing from where it was earlier. And we typically see that here at Oxford Plains when you get cars side by side on corner entry, that inside car will push up. Now, a lot of times what we see is that inside car getting spun by the outside car outside of the racetrack. In this situation, they kind of did a little bunny hop and continued on.
Well, you're watching it. They're off the nose of your leader. They're side by side in front of them. You wanted racing, you got it. I don't know if Negus wanted this kind of racing, though. Where is he going to go? I mean, even if, this is so tough to say, JR, but I think it's the right call. Even if you see that guy on the outside prevail and make the move, I don't think you can go up there if you're the 29. I just don't think you can leave the door open there with the 99 and James Lowe right behind you.
Yeah, at no point am I going to go to the outside ever. If that guy behind me gets past me by passing me on the outside, then that's a power move and good for him. But I'm not going to open up that inside door. Right now, Scott's got to be super patient. So he does have these drivers side by side, which means as long as they stay side by side, there's nowhere for anybody to go, inside or outside. So he just needs to stay focused, stay right close to that inside curb, especially on corner exit. And that's going to prevent James from being able to get a good run on him. Oh, and we see, Tom Hilbert going up and over one of the dirt dunes right there that's on the infield of the track.
Yes, he did. Oh, man. No caution flag. Somehow the light pole stayed erect there. That is unbelievable. They see a little contact there on corner entry, and Hilbert, whoa, he man went through the pole.
That's something else you see. It usually happens in practice when drivers are kind of finding the limit and stuff, but occasionally you'll see it in a race. And again, super lucky. That may have caused some suspension damage, but obviously he was able to drive away and continue, so he's going to be able to at least complete some more laps here.
Man, this is unbelievable here. These guys running around the hamster wheel. Not many places to go unless somebody slips in front of you here. Ken Allen thought about looking to the outside, but nope. I think we're going to see maybe how that goes. Here is the 08 machine going to take a peek underneath.
Yeah, definitely going to be some hard battling here, and Ken knows how fast he is. He does not want to lose these spots. He intended to go up here and get third spot, and in return, he's about to lose fourth position. So I expect Ken, he's going to fight hard here. He does know how important this is, and where you would normally just want to back off and get in line, he knows if he can get this pass made, he's going to be able to drive away from these two, and that's the big picture for Ken right now.
I mean, this is unbelievable what he's doing. The start, stop. I mean, he is working that right front tire, but right now he's got to feel like it's worth the payoff. And look at that. The 7 of, I believe, Chris Davis gets a little loose on the inside, and now all of a sudden Ryan Pittman, monkey see, monkey do here, JR.
Absolutely, and this is something that's easy to do in the higher powered cars like these Tour Modifieds. When you're that inside car and you see the guy on the outside being able to stay there, oh, we see contact on corner entry, they both keep it going. But you see that outside driver making up ground, you start to apply more and more throttle on corner exit, and when you're being pinched down, you're just not able to hold it in these cars. Those rear tires will break loose, and that's what happened with Chris Davis there, and he's very fortunate he didn't wreck. He had good car control ultimately throughout that lap that he got past.
Now, obviously, you know, we just saw the pass on the outside work, and now James Lowe, maybe he's thinking about it, or is maybe thinking of an over-under here. I don't know, but anyways, to my question here, JR, we saw the pass get done that way on lap 76 or so. Can we see a pass get done on the outside on lap 176? Is the time for James Lowe to possibly make a move on the outside now, or can you save enough to do it later?
I think you can save enough to do it later, but ultimately, you know, only these drivers know how their car's handling, how it feels, and what they're observing from the driver in front of them that they're trying to pass. And there are points where you feel like that driver in front of you is very vulnerable, and you feel like your car is handling good enough that you can attack. I think that's what you're seeing from James here. He's starting to try to attack. So far, it's not worked, but everything that you're doing is kind of getting Scott to look in his mirrors and, you know, think about what's going on, and just maybe you get Scott to change what he's doing enough that it gives you an advantage. And that's why you're seeing a lot of that moving around. Just get Scott thinking.
Now, Jerry Isaacs, he played Mr. Nice Guy there, a lot nicer than I would. He got out of the way, but I got a feeling not the next car up the road, I should say, but the 13, the point leader of Tom Ogle. He knows what it would mean to go a lap down. He cannot let that happen. You got to think that thing, I mean, he might make that thing a triple wide here these next 120 laps, unless we get a caution.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be going through his mind, and I think he is definitely going to race the leaders hard. He's not going to be one of those guys that just moves over like we've seen so far, because here's the deal. So Tom's running in 12th place right now. The driver he's racing for in points is Ken Allen, and Ken Allen's up in third. We saw that ultimate move that he made. Oh, and up front, I'm sorry, I just saw Negus almost get into the back of Hazlip there, and that almost created an opportunity for James. Didn't work out, but this is very trying times for Scott. He's got to stay focused and keep it on the bottom. Eventually, a hole will open up, but he doesn't need to do anything crazy.
Yeah, now the Lipper, he's thinking about rounding up the chickens and going on the outside here. Look at him. He's got the momentum. He's going to try to make a run. And if you're Scott Negus right now, JR, that is the worst thing you could have just watched happen, because now I think that put that bubble here and that little thought bubble above that 99, because he just saw it work for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be going through your mind. I was very worried about Scott there for a minute. We saw Tom get loose up off the corner, and Scott went to go to the outside. That was an opportunity for James, and he wasn't able to capitalize on it. A little bit surprised, but Scott was able to hang on there. It's so hard going through lap traffic. You never know where that traffic's going to end up going, and you have a millisecond to react. In that instance, Scott felt like he needed to go to the outside, and he was very lucky to get it back down to the inside before James got there.
Man, they were 3 wide back behind. Ryan just clicked to it here. Isaacs was stuck in the middle. That was wild. I did not think it was going to work. They were 3 wide the whole way down the front stretch. Somehow they made it work. And, man, Jerry Isaacs, you got a feel for him. His tires are probably all but gone after that slide. And he has just been sinking back, and to be caught up in the middle of that, oh boy, that's a handful with tires that don't necessarily agree with you, JR.
No, and that's the thing. These are the higher horsepower cars. In the SKs, it wouldn't be so important. In the Tour mods, you get those tires hot. Like you slip that rear tire a few times, this car becomes kind of evil on how it handles, and you're never really sure. You go into the corner, and there's no grip whatsoever, and you don't know if it's going to push up the track, if it's going to spin around on you. So you really have to be cognizant of that and recognize that early. And say, hey, I've already slipped this tire. I need to be just a little bit easier in the next couple of corners to make sure I regain that grip.
Now, right as I say that, or was going to say this, he makes a little mistake. But these past couple laps, you know, the Lipper, one of those guys, saves his stuff. But you got a question, did he save a little too much? I mean, oh, we got a caution. Oh, no, the 5 of Torrance Childs pulls back up the racetrack, and he gets T-boned by the 15 of Jeff Lemire. Oh, no, JR, the number one rule in racing, hold your brakes.
Yeah, we're seeing Dustin Martinson. He got loose on corner entry, and definitely the 5 tried to avoid him. Oh, yeah. That was just a bad situation all around. A lot of things happening there. Obviously, the 5 of Torrance, he was trying to avoid what was going on in front of him, ended up making contact, which put him in a bad spot and ultimately spun him around. In return, we see him make that contact. We're riding on board with Jeff as he comes around. He sees what's going on, and there's a split second, like we talked about, just a split second to decide, do I get on the brakes and go high? Do I get on the brakes and go low? What do I do? And Jeff tried to hold it straight while the 5 was turning around. So, yeah, a lot of stuff there.
We had every single car on the lead lap come down pit road there. Scott Negus, your leader, even came down pit road, got right side tires here. So you see those 3 cars that stayed out, they may be thinking, hey, I'm going to get my lap back. No, you're not. So there are a couple cars in front of Negus here that I would think maybe going to duck down pit road. They may think that they're going to get that wave around, but I thought they were going to get it for weeks, and I realized they weren't going to. So that is a tough one there. Is, you know, you're really only doing yourself a disadvantage by not coming down and at least getting right sides.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So we just watched on screen a couple of things going on. Now, definitely, if you're Scott Negus, you're kind of, you know, darn if you do, darn if you don't type situation, because everybody's going to do the opposite of what you do. So I think Scott had to stay on track, and I think you can definitely get to 200 laps on the same set of tires if you manage it right. Now, some of these drivers that came down pit road...
No, Negus came down, JR. I was talking about the lap cars that stayed out thinking they'd get the wave around to the pace truck, but they didn't. See, they're getting shoveled back to the back right now. Those are the guys who I was talking about. That's the tough break, because not only were they slower and went the lap down, but now they're out on older tires too. So you might as well come down pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at our telemetry and got lost, so I apologize to everybody on that when I fell asleep. But definitely, I think coming down and getting 2 tires is a great decision. Now, one thing that our producer actually touched on was James Lowe got 4 tires, and we saw him come back out on track right behind the leader, which means he's now a lap down. So, and he came back down pit road a second time, I believe, to get more service. So he's going to be multiple laps down at this point, and that's the type of things in this league you can't do, because once you're behind, you're behind. There's no catching up.
Well, the green flag waves were a little over halfway. Lap 106 underway here, and that's Tom Ogle. They're the second car in line, and he needs to get himself back on the lead lap. Does he take advantage of these new tires here? Maybe use the bumper to go around the 29. If you're Negus, oh man, you got to play this smart here. As I think he did give him the chrome horn.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Ogle's been on the other side of this, so he knows how important it is to go. He's got to go. It's his only way to get back on the lead lap is to make this pass. Now, Negus cannot get stuck on the outside, because he is racing that 08 car that's right in third place right there in line. That's actually your second place running car. So Negus can't get on the outside. Now, if Negus can't pull away from Tom here, I would really consider trying to duck down on the inside and just back off on one of the straightaways. Let Tom go by on the outside, but I am not going to let him get down underneath me.
And this is, you hit the nail on the head. Ding, ding, ding. If I'm Negus, I'm doing that right now. He's looking to the outside, crack the throttle, let him go by. But I don't think, man, you know, Negus right now, you can't blame him. You're focused on leading the race. But I think if he was up here with us, you'd get a sense of the overall picture. It might do him benefits in the long run to even force that 13 to, you know, maybe drive up through the field, create some chaos here if we would get another caution.
Yeah, and it's tough right now. So Negus is deciding, am I fast enough to stay in front of that 13? If you're fast enough to stay in front of him, that's what you need to do, because you do not need that 13 holding you up. Otherwise, if 13 was hounding you like we saw some of that contact early into the run, you need to just get out of the way, let him go, but do not get yourself in trouble. And you see Tom working that high side. At this point, if he gets almost fully alongside of me, I'm going to lift and let him go.
Yeah, and that's why I say, you know, I think you nailed it with the lift and let him go, because once again, you don't want to show the guy in P2 the power move on the outside. You don't want to show him where you're maybe a little weak. So just act strong here, you know. Fold this poker hand because you're trying to bring home the big pot at the end. I mean, you don't got to play everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still early in this race. I know we're past halfway, lap 115. 85, 84 laps to go at this point. Still a long way, but as we're watching on screen here, we see Tom. Tom was trying to make that outside line work on our leader, was not able to do it. In return, Ryan Pittman was able to get back underneath him. So now Tom Ogle is falling through the field. His chance of getting his lap back is now gone.
Yeah, and that's just the reality of the situation. He needed to get there. He tried, maybe expended a little too much doing so, and you're watching the 99. He was running around in P2, but you know what Mr. Hubble AI didn't account for, JR, was that auto pit stop button. And I got a feeling James Lowe's first race in this league, everybody, I don't care who you are, you forget that if you take 4 tires, you're going to go a lap down. And that's got to be what happened to the 99.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in short track racing leagues, a lot of these leagues, they don't have pit stops. You don't have to worry about these things. But the thing to know about the modified series is if you're in one of these races where you can come down and make a pit stop, you do have that opportunity to get tires and fuel. It takes a long time, number one, to fuel these cars. So you either want to take very little fuel or no fuel at all, because that's going to slow your pit stop down. The other thing is the tire change. These are not NASCAR style pit crews that are servicing your car. They are not going to change the tires in 10 seconds or less. So this is going to be a thing that you have to remember. If you're on a larger track, you might have the opportunity, you might have the time to do the 4 tires, but on a bull ring like this, you are never going to get 4 tires changed before that leader comes back around. The only way you have an opportunity to do that is if everybody in the field pits.
Wouldn't that be something if iRacing gave us individual characteristics of our race team? You know, we had to allocate points to the motor, the chassis, and your pit crew. And, you know, you could pump up that pit crew. You know, maybe you're not as quick on down the straightaway, but you're going to change tires in 12 seconds. That would be something.
I'd be all for that. I've lost out plenty of times with my pit crew being just slightly slower, and I have no idea why. So I got to figure out something. I don't know if I'm feeding them enough or what, but my pit crew is always a little bit slower for some reason.
As you're seeing guys kind of settle down here, it's turned into single file over most of the racetrack, and you got to think Ryan Pittman now probably just trying to pace himself here. And Ken Allen, I mean, he mentioned last week in the interview, JR, he was well aware when Tom Ogle had the early incident. You got to think he knows that Tom Ogle is a couple cars behind him, stuck a lap down. And Kenny, I doubt, makes any big heroic moves. He's probably just fine where he is there on the bottom step of the podium.
Yeah, Ken knows exactly the situation. He's very good at that, and he's a very good short track driver, especially in these modified. So he knows what he needs to do, and right now I like what he's doing because he's found an opening. he's got equal distance to the car in front versus the car behind. There's nobody putting pressure on him. He can sit here and run the line he wants to do, take care of his car. Now, if an opportunity presents itself late in the race for him to go up there and potentially get second or maybe even the win, he's going to try it, but he's not going to do anything crazy. He does not want to lose those points that he is making up on Tom right now.
See that 51 of Jerry Isaacs getting up and out of the way again here. He gets way up there. He keeps it on the racetrack, though. That was close. He could have went out there and kissed the dirt there if he just leaned to the outside. Doesn't try that again through 3 and 4. Gets a little lower, but he wants to give Ken as much room as he can here. And right now, Jerry Isaacs, he is just on a Sunday drive, man. He's enjoying this beautiful weather out here.
If I'm one of those cars that's on the lead lap and I see a driver getting that high at this racetrack, I get worried because it's very easy for somebody to over throttle, get loose coming off the corner and come down the track into you. But thankfully, it's Jerry Isaacs that's the one out there doing it. He's got good car control. He knows how to drive this thing. And like you said, he's giving these drivers plenty of room so that they can race.
I'll tell you, Ryan Pittman almost just wrecked coming off of 4. He was able to gather it up, but you see that gap to Negus. It's really gotten bigger. Ken Allen almost right behind him now. He had his hands full, JR. I think he clipped that berm a little bit. You tried to warn him, but man, he didn't listen. You get too low out down there, you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. You know, for people that watch the NASCAR style racing, you think about Darlington and all that grip is right up against the wall. The fast lane is right up against that wall. But if you push it too hard, you get into that wall and you either damage your vehicle or you slow yourself down dramatically. And it's the same thing at this racetrack. You tell yourself lap after lap, I do not need to hit that curb, but eventually you end up hitting it. And it's all about how you react to it. So Ryan did a great job of not overcorrecting and getting that car big time out of shape. He's able to continue to race. But again, we haven't talked about it a whole lot, Shaggy. We did talk about the drivers constantly turning left in this race. This track, the way it's shaped, you're almost constantly turning left. And we see a battle on the screen here for third as I'm talking about this. But this is a mentally exhausting track. This is tough for the drivers, and this is the time of race where that starts to come into play. And Ken Allen, he's going to lose some spots here.
Yes, he is, because, I mean, he's got to play it smart. You don't want to chop down Mr. Aggressive here when we're coming to 61 laps to go. I mean, the pay window, it's starting to get some air through it. It's slightly cracked, not totally open, but I think that 7 here, he's going to start putting some pressure on that 013 of Buckley if he can get to him. Chris Davis, he's got that front bumper, and JR, we both know he knows how to use that thing.
Absolutely knows how to use it, and he knows how to be aggressive in order to get the car to do what he needs it to do to try to get a run. Now, what we saw during that first run is that Chris Davis had a ton of speed early in the race, and then he fell back as we got to the end of that run, and I'm sure Ken Allen remembers that because he was involved in that battle. So Ken had no issues, I think, with letting Chris go because he knows he can get that position back. At the end of the race, we see Martinson, I believe, that is going off the track in turn 4 and hit the outside wall. He's able to tow and get out of there, so it does not affect the race here. But as we get to replay, it was okay. So it was right as the leaders were going by, and I assume at that point he figures, my race is over. I'm multiple laps down, so I'm just gonna get out of here.
Yeah, because, you know, I feel like you made a conscious decision there. He hit the access road even there for a second, but he's like, you know what? I need something to do in the garage this week, and he slammed that wall as hard as he could, boy. He could have just ejected in the parking lot safely, but he chose that wall, and he's got to live with it now. I think Dustin is going to be done for the night here as Negus winds closer to that final quarter here. You see Davis rolling around. He's probably the closest battle, I want to say, here out of the guys on the lead lap as I click through. Allen not very, just as close here to Bruce. Liston not very close to Bianchi. I mean, without a caution here, JR, this may be the finishing order here unless we get a little mix-up.
It's a very good chance that this will be how things play out unless we get some type of a caution. Everybody's kind of spaced out. And that's what a lot of these drivers want, because this has been a tough race. They're a little bit exhausted mentally because of how tough this track is in general, just to keep from hitting that inside curb while making speed. So I think these drivers are kind of comfortable with that, and in return, nobody's really getting racy. But if we get a couple of cars near each other, and I do think in the next 40 laps or so, some of these guys will start to close back in. Some of the drivers will have driven a little bit harder than they needed to in order to open up those gaps we're seeing, and some other drivers are knowing how to be patient throughout this run so that they have more front and rear grip late in the race. And one of those drivers I'm kind of keeping an eye on is Josh Buckley there, who's in third place. He's not a driver that we've really talked about at all in this race. He's up 5 spots from where he started. And he is a driver that knows how to take care of his stuff. We've seen him in other league races, and this is the type of track where you're going to have to do that, because it can pay big dividends toward the end of a run if you have a lot more grip than that driver in front of you.
No, and not necessarily, you want to change your game plan, but if you're Scott Negus, you got to save a little bit of tire too for defense, because if the guy gets to you here, you got to expect that bumper in the closing lap. So you got to make sure you not only have enough to go, quick, but you got to have enough right rear to be able to catch that thing if you get moved out of the way, because it could get rough here as we come down to the close.
Absolutely. And I'm the type of driver that's always been, at least on the short track side, if I can get out to a half-second lead, that's all I'm worried about. I want to get a half-second gap so that guy behind me is not close enough to make contact with me, and then I can just run the speed that I want to run. Now, if me running that speed allows me to pull away, I'll continue to do that. But I am not going to do anything to overuse my tires or overheat them in any way, because like you said, if anything weird happens, contact happens, you make contact with that inside curb, you've got to be able to hang on to that car. And if your tires are hot and angry, they're just not going to allow you to do it.
Double E here, Eric Essery pulling up out of the way. Your leader, Scott Negus. Negus rolls right around him. Eric falls in line, and Negus, pretty clear track other than his buddy Chris Hayslip coming up. This is almost a dream scenario for Scott. You got to think, if he gets to the Lipper, not that, league affiliation should matter, JR, but it may matter a little bit. And I don't think Lipper's going to run him hard enough to allow Negus to, to kind of relinquish that gap he's built up.
No, and, Chris has got a reputation that, we saw him racing earlier, but that was knowing that you need to stay on the lead lap. You were already racing somebody side by side. In a situation where he's out there on the track by himself and the leader catches him, Chris is going to be smart and get out of the way and not cause any problems. So I don't think that Scott's going to have any issues with that. At this point, we got about 37, 38 laps to go here. Scott's just got to be in control of his car. That's all he's got to do right now. It's going to be a slim chance, I think, for another caution to come out. He just needs to make sure he doesn't do anything crazy. He's got a plenty enough lead. He's been in control this entire race. Right now is easy driving, and let me be clear, it's very easy to get yourself in trouble when you're in that situation where you've got nobody putting pressure on you. It's very easy to make a mistake because you end up slowing down too much, and I always encourage drivers to never slow down too much, because you can do something weird, hit a curb, do something that upsets that car and costs you that win.
You saw Bruce Pearson get around Liston, and now we're watching Alan Wanamaker try to get around Liston. Is Jerry Isaacs going to enter the racetrack here in the picture? He was way up there, up out of the way. He goes up and over again. Oh, he is just seeing the sights here in that 51 machine. As Alan Wanamaker finally gets under the 87, and I wouldn't expect this pass to take too long here for the 9-ball. Looked like he had some pace, and I think he wants to get up there and try to battle with the 22.
Yeah, he absolutely wants to. He wants to get this pass done so he can close back in on Bruce, and it looks like he's going to be able to do that. Todd's trying to do an over-under. Todd might get there. And indeed, Alan's going to give him that inside line, so these two are going to continue to battle.
Yeah, I think Alan maybe, peeked up in that mirror, felt threatened. Negus did enough. Wasn't there, but just the temptation of it scared the 9. But Alan going to drive it in deep here, and I think this time going to shut the door here, try to go run down that double deuce of Bruce Pearson.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we didn't talk about it a whole lot in this race, but this is the type of track that when you see a line of cars really stacking up on one another, that's when you know, hey, that lead car is holding the rest of those drivers up. And we're seeing that a little bit in that situation there. Now that Allen is freed up, I expect to see Allen start to pull away from those other drivers that were behind him as he tries to close back in on Bruce.
And all of a sudden, it wasn't a whole lot, but it was a tenth of a second the last time. Ryan Pittman reeling in Scott Negus here as the laps start to wind down. Last time by half a tenth quicker here, JR. We may have a battle for the lead before this is all said and done.
Yeah, not at all what Scott wants to see on the telemetry if he's looking at it on board. But this is the situation where we get to answer the questions that we had earlier. Is Scott saving anything? Was he driving harder than he needed to? Hopefully this is a situation where Scott was in conservative mode and Ryan started to attack, and we can see that last lap by Scott had the advantage. So hopefully that is the case, and as Scott's taking care of his stuff and he's just, you know, kind of watching that gap.
Now, normally, you know, this may not seem like a big deal, but Tom Ogle battling for points here. The newcomer, James Lowe, trying to get his way inside the top 10, but Tom Ogle doesn't want to give it up here, JR. You can't blame him. He needs absolutely every point he can get. This Ken Allen right now rolls around in 6th place.
Absolutely. If it's early in the race, you'll consider it. But at this point, it's 25 laps to go. You have got to race hard. Now, that time Ogle got in a little too close to James on corner entry, and that kind of bobbled him up the track. But he's continuing to try to hang on that outside. But I think right there, James is going to be able to make that pass. But I expect Tom to not fall back. He's going to continue to try to make something happen here.
Yeah, he's got to, but at the same time he got passed. Well, I had mentioned Ken Allen in 6th. He was in 5th. Bianchi went around him. Allen made it easy. Didn't put up a fight. Now Bianchi trying to pull away a little bit. I don't know if Brian going to have a chance to get up to Mr. Aggressive, as he's a ways up the road. And, well, JR, we're down to 22. This time by 21 laps to go.
We are, and, you know, one of the things I didn't think about after that last round of pit stop. A lot of these drivers you talked about took right side tires. What that does is changes the handling of these race cars. So drivers that we've seen not be affected by that so far is Scott Negus. He's been able to pretty well be consistent and run the laps he needs to run, but he's been out front. Some of these other drivers like Ryan Pittman have really come on strong since that pit stop. Josh Buckley's another one, but Ken Allen's the opposite. So whatever that handling change was due to the right side only tires is coming into play here. It's kind of shaking up that running order that we saw based on that first run.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing cars behave very differently, and I'd assume it all comes back to, well, the way you kind of treated that car in the beginning, and of course, JR, your driving style. Just how you attack the corner and how you want the car to feel. I mean, you get old tires and new tires on the same car, you know as well as I do, that really, really shakes up the balance.
It does, and it's super difficult for the driver because the only thing the driver really has to go on as far as having a ton of laps on their tires is that first run they went through. So they know how the car handled on that, and they try to start that second run based on that knowledge. But when you've got the different tires, you know, you got 100 lap newer tires on the right side versus the left side, completely changes the handling, and you may think you're doing what you need to do throughout this run to take care of them, and then all of a sudden, I've gone too far, I pushed too hard, or I've slipped the tires too many times. What worked in that first run just does not work in this run. So it's very difficult. What these drivers are doing, the ones that are fast, it's pretty special.
Man, listing up and out of the way there for his buddy Scott Negus. Big time move there as he was on the lead lap, but realized, hey, you know, this is a buddy of mine's shot. He's got to go get this thing, pulls out of the way, and absolutely every domino has fallen correctly here for the 29 of Scott Negus. I mean, you go out there, you qualify on the pole, you race hard those first 2 or 3 laps, you secure the bottom, and man, it has just been smooth sailing here for Negus.
It absolutely has. This is a dream race. This is the type of race that you want to have when qualifying is involved. If you can go out there and grab the pole, your goal is to just lead every lap, be in control of this race. And he truly has been. We saw how much pressure he had on him during that first run. For almost the first 50 or 60 laps, he had somebody right on his bumper. It's so easy to make a mistake or slip up, and Scott didn't do that. So this is the type of race that you dream of. He just needs to capitalize and finish off in these closing 9 laps.
It's another battle for position there. Brian Johnson trying to work his way around Tom Ogle. This is for P11 here. They almost made contact going down the backstretch last time. Johnson, oh man, almost got him at the line here, but they are going to race side by side. Ogle, he just can't give these points up here.
Yeah, it's tough. And when you're in that situation, when your tires just aren't gripping up and you've got competitors that seem to be faster, it's so hard to stop the bleeding. You want to race hard, but you don't have anything to work with, and you're fighting, trying to keep that position. But ultimately, those competitors, they just have more grip, and they're just able to easily go by.
Well, 6 laps to go here this time by JR. In about 1 minute and 30 seconds, we are going to be all set done here. Ryan Pittman right there in the back half of your screen. He is running out of time. He is close enough to see Negus. And Negus now, I mentioned every domino was falling. Well, now he's coming up on side-by-side battle in here in front. I guess we get a little lift out there. Maybe gonna let him by. Can't tell here. Gives him the bottom. This may benefit Negus actually more than it will Pittman, because you see Pittman, he kind of gets pinched down coming out of the corner. He has to readjust. And all of a sudden, Pittman, he gives about a 10th up there in corner entry. This is... boy, oh boy, I don't know if he's going to be able to get there, JR. 3 laps to go.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but yeah, if I'm Negus, I am freaking out a little bit. Now, obviously, we saw Allen. Allen got up out of the way once Negus got there. But I want those lap cars to recognize that it's the closing laps and I'm leading this race. I don't need to be held up. And I think you're going to see Tom up ahead. He's going to also move wide to give those leaders plenty of room. So at this point, I'm taking a deep breath if I'm Scott, because I'm like, thank you. Thank you for getting out of the way.
Well, white flag waves, 1/3 of a mile here to play as Negus already rolls out at 2. He just needs to hit his marks here. Not close enough to feel any heat here from Pittman. Final time off of 4, checkered flag waves. Scott Negus going to bring home the win here at the Oxford Plains Raceway. Ryan Pittman second, and Josh Buckley going to round out the podium. JR, pretty clean. I mean, maybe we could have had 2 cautions, you know, with the hitting the light pole. But other than that, I mean, the 1 caution here, what a great race.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's tracks like this that are super tough to get around that end up having the most green flag laps. And I can tell you tonight, talked about it during the broadcast, this is a mentally exhausting race. These drivers, they are glad that this is over with, but super job by them to keep it that clean for that many laps.
Well, we're going to step away here, take a short break on the Virtual Grip Network, and we'll be right back with interviews from your top 3 and your full rundown of your YesterYear Tour Modifieds. Stick around. We are back live on the Virtual Grip Network after 200 laps here in Maine at the Oxford Plains Raceway. Boy, oh boy, JR, we were talking a little bit there, me, you, and Ryan, and truthfully, we expected some more beating and banging, and these guys, for the most part, they behaved tonight, and it wasn't easy, but they kept their tempers calm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super tough behind the wheel because I talked about it in the opening. This is a track where you get frustrated, especially if you didn't have a good qualifying time. If you're one of those drivers that were back there like Tom Ogle, you knew that the leaders were going to be coming up on you quickly because of how far behind you were and how short of a racetrack this is. And it's super, super easy to get upset, make contact with somebody, get frustrated, and we just didn't see a whole lot of that. So I think it's a testament from where these drivers have come from throughout this season.
Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at that final finishing order. I'll read off the first 10. JR can finish out the final 12 here as Scott Negus brings home the checkered flag. And my partner mentioned, he was sitting there, I believe, 14 points behind and with a big win, and Tom Ogle coming home. Oh, I won't spoil it. JR will tell you, but man, it is going to be nuts as we roll into Pocono here in a couple weeks. Ryan Pittman, P2. Josh Buckley, 3rd. Chris Davis, 4th. Brian Bianchi, 5th. Ken Allen, 6th. Bruce Pearson, your last car on the lead lap, 7th. Alan Wanamaker, 8th. Todd Liston, 9th, and James Lowe, the newcomer, rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, coming home in 11th place tonight, we got Brian Johnson. Tom Ogle, your points leader, had to start in the back. He does make it up to 12th, but 2 laps down. First car 2 laps down. Randy Schuler, he'll come home in 13th place. Chris Hazlett, 14th. Eric YesterYear, he'll come home in 15th. Tom Hilbert in 16th. Jerry Isaacs, he'll come home in 17th tonight. We saw him have a lot of off-track excursion, but he does finish the race. Dustin Martinson, we saw have some issues, get into the wall hard, 60 laps down. He'll come home in 18th place. And Steve Hilbert will come home in 19th. Jeff Lemire, he'll come home in 20th.
And the final 2 there, Torrance Childs and Gavin Adams rounding out the field. Let's go ahead. Let's bring up our 3rd place finisher, Josh Buckley. I'll see if I can't get a word with him. Oh, I didn't even hear him pop in here. Ryan did that quick. Josh, Shaggy in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, it seemed like one of those races where, man, really hard to pass. You were able to make some of them as you started 8th, you get up to 3rd. Was there anything you could have done different? And, just out of curiosity, do you think maybe if we go back and replay this thing, could you have just skipped out on the tires, or was there so much wear on the right sides that you needed to come in and get to on that caution?
I'd say the wear was definitely, after almost 100 laps, you definitely want to take at least right sides, which I did. I was gaining on everybody until that caution came out. So I was trying to play the strategy of trying to save my stuff after getting those right sides and see if I can reel them in late. And I either burned my stuff up or something because they just started driving away at the end.
Yeah, and my partner up here, he had mentioned maybe some of you guys were suffering. After you got the right sides only, which I assume you did, Josh, did you suffer from any ill handling effects, or did the car, basically feel like it was brand new, or did you have to drive it different?
A little different to start. Obviously, the cold tires, you got to let them warm up. But other than that, it for the most part, it seemed pretty much the same from what I had before. I just probably abused it too much trying to hold, I believe it was Chris behind me for a little bit because I knew I was better or faster than him on the long run. So maybe just trying to stick to the bottom, shoot him up a little too much.
But hey, at the end of the day, man, a 22-car field, you bring home the bottom step of the podium. That's a hell of a run, Josh. Congratulations on the P3. You got anybody you want to thank?
I just want to thank everyone that came out and raced tonight. It was a lot of fun being out there. Thank YesterYear, for having me come out and race. And thank you guys up in the booth.
Well, hey, before we kick you out of here, we're doing something a little different, man. We're rolling to Pocono in a couple weeks. You excited to go to the Tricky Triangle?
I'm hoping I can make it. It depends on the schedule, but I did the Pocono one last time. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, didn't go the way I wanted it to in the end, but I mean, it's unique and it's something you don't see every day. So it is a lot of fun, and I am excited for it.
Well, hey, hopefully you can make it, Josh. We're looking forward to see you. But if not, good luck, and we'll see you when we see you. Great run tonight, man.
Thank you.
Josh Buckley bringing home P3. Now my man JR Shepard's got the man who brought home P2.
Absolutely. Hey, Ryan, congratulations on that second place run tonight. I gotta ask you, through the closing laps of this race, you saw that lap traffic up ahead of the leader. Did you think there was any possibility or anything that you could have done different to try to close that gap and get to him?
I mean, the possibility is always there, but I mean, it's been a little while since I've been in the league, so I didn't really want to do a whole lot. I was more than happy to kind of let Scott, kind of take it unless something was presented, but I wasn't going to push it too terribly hard. I just wanted to have a good, clean finish there.
Absolutely. I know you've only ran, I think, 3 races coming in tonight in this league, so great to see you return. You've been fast every time that you've come in here, and because of that, I want to ask you this question. So I know during that round of pit stops, guys took 2 tires, and I know that you fell back early in the race from being on that outside lane. That was easy to fall back at that point, but I want to ask you, did the car change in handling from where you were during that first run to where you were on the second run on just 2 tires? Was anything different, or pretty much felt the same?
I mean, I guess from 2 to 4, I mean, we were never really pushing it that hard anyway, so to really get a gauge of the car, I mean, I couldn't really tell a whole lot. We were just kind of rolling there at the beginning on both sides. Yeah, the beginning of the race, though, where I started to fall back, I hadn't raced in this league a whole lot, and I didn't want to go out there and try to force down or do anything too crazy. I wanted to get a grasp of the guys first and what all before kind of going at it. So that was a lot of fun, though.
That's a great point that you brought up, because the tempo of the race changes as it goes on. So definitely the handling could change, but not because of the tire the tire difference that you have. Just the way the pack is bunched together earlier in the race. So I want to ask you, guys have a couple of weeks off in this league. Do you plan on coming back the rest of the season? And if so, are you going to be at Pocono when they come back in about 3 weeks? Because that's a unique race in these cars.
Yeah, I probably won't be at Pocono. I'm a short track guy, so Pocono just doesn't really fit my style. I had a really good run there last time we were there, leading on the last lap, and I just, somebody ran on the apron, and I didn't want to block it down there because I kind of have a personal rule about myself about not going on the apron and trying to force your way up. So I just kind of stuck it on the line. And he went to the apron, and I let him up, and that kind of was the end of the race. But I probably won't be at Pocono. I just don't really vibe with those bigger kind of tracks. I'm a short track guy through and through.
I can understand and respect that, man. Absolutely. Hey, again, congratulations. You've shown a lot of speed every time you showed up. Hope we get to see you more throughout the rest of this season as it closes down. And before I let you go, anybody you want to thank for tonight?
Yeah, my team, Southern E Motorsports, and then as always, like I said, I'm a short track guy. I'm a PA announcer at my local short track. Been there since I was a kid, and been doing that for the last 2 years. Wake County Speedway here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So always, support your local racetrack. We just finished up on Friday night. Had a great crowd, over 2,000 people there at the track, and just realized about 15 minutes before the green flag that one of the local racetracks down here is closing down at the end of the year as well. Fayetteville Motor Speedway in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a little dirt track. So that's a shame. I always say support your local short tracks. Get out there, enjoy some great racing. It's the best racing on earth, where the passion lies. Short track racing for sure.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thank you for saying that, because I'm 100% behind you. Definitely, people watching the broadcast, get out there and support your local short tracks. Without the fans, they don't get to exist. So, absolutely, man. Hey, Ryan, congratulations. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to you some more this season.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, Shaggy, that was Ryan Pittman. He's our second place finisher tonight. Who do you have now?
The Maple Leaf, man. Scott Negus representing Canada. And JR brought up, I was sleeping on you. You were a little back there in points. 14, obviously makeable. But Tom Ogle, did we think he'd have 2 bad runs in a row? I sure didn't. All of a sudden, with the win and him finishing 12th, man, you are right back in this thing, Scott. How are we feeling?
I am, when the checker flag came out, I'll be honest, it sounds kind of corny, but I was actually shaking. this is big for me. This is really big for me. So great league, great people. Love this. Absolutely love it. Love your guys' broadcast. This is what I dream of. This kind of stuff.
Now, this isn't to downplay your racing ability at all, Scott, but you made it easy on yourself, man. You went out there, you qualified with quick time. How important was that? I mean, you weren't way ahead, but 0.02 of a second, man, in asphalt short track racing, that's a pretty decent amount. You flexed your muscles there in qualifying. Did you practice that?
Yeah, I did a couple qualifying runs just to see what it was going to feel like, and I thought there was something there. I knew if I shut a bunch of stuff off that I hopefully get the extra 10th or maybe even half a 10th. I didn't expect to get the pole, honestly, but I did practice it in practice for sure.
Now, I want you to rewind a little bit. You probably got so much going through your head, but after that restart, you got Tom Ogle behind you. He's a lap down. It looked like, you may have gotten a bump or two. He was getting a little feisty trying to get around you. But if you give up that bottom, I mean, you know what that means. You could lose the lead. How nervous were you there trying to drive away but still save tires? Because, I mean, we know how important that was going to be.
I'll be honest, Tom Ogle did not touch me at all. I actually said to him during the race, I said, buddy, I wish I could let you by and get your lap back, but I know what he's like. He would have been battling me for the lead 20 laps later, so I honestly didn't want to give it to him. He's such a nice guy. I did that kind of way, but I knew he was going to be definitely competition at the end if I did.
Now, obviously, it turns out to be a great move, but Scott, you're leading the race when the caution flag flies, and how nervous were you going down pit road first? Because, I mean, we know we've seen it so many times where the rest of the field will do the exact opposite of what the leader does. I mean, were you nervous at all?
No, the only nervous part was probably the 20 laps before that when Mr. Lowe, James Lowe, was behind me, and the man is hats off to him, and I said it like 3 times during the race. Hats off to him. He was right there. I don't look in the mirror when I'm in the lead, but the peripheral vision, I seen him there, and he backed off. I had to get tires. I was burning the right rear off. There was no question I was going to get tires. I had to get right sides. I didn't honestly care if I knew it was about the halfway mark, so I was hoping something would have happened if I did fall behind, but it worked out.
Yes, it did, Scott. And now, like I say, man, I'm anxious to see this update. You are right back in the hunt and for a championship with 4 races to go. And the next one coming up in a couple weeks, man, the Tricky Triangle. How excited are you to go to Pocono?
Never done it in this. I actually went on a couple nights ago and did some practice runs because it's set up in the sim now. I'm very curious to see what it's going to be like when we get in the draft.
You and me both, Scott. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. But before we kick you out of here, man, you had a great run, and I think you got some people you want to thank.
I do. I want to thank YesterYear Racing, obviously. This, by far, is my night that I look forward to. I hope Dave Dion Racing got a little bit of TV time tonight. Berlin City Ford and Tate Brothers Paving from the I think that was about 92, that paint scheme. So one of my idols when I was a younger man at Oxford, watching Oxford races. So, and Toymaker Racing, the guys that are in that league group, we share some notes and talk amongst each other, and it definitely helps. So it's really nice.
Well, hell of a run, Scott. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see what you do at the Tricky Triangle. Good luck in a couple weeks.
I appreciate it, guys, and thank you very much for your time.
That's Scott Negus bringing home the checkered flag. In 1992, JR, I was 1 year old, laying in my crib, sucking on a nice warm bottle.
I wish I could say I was that young. I was a little bit older. I was 6 then, so I was walking around.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Well, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at what's coming up next here on the Virtual Grip Network. I get to come back Sunday at the Kansas Speedway. JR, I know you watch a little NASCAR. We are at the fun point. This is the trickiest stage, I would say, of the playoffs. We had New Hampshire last week, Kansas this week, then we go to the Roval. I mean, you want to talk about 3 wild cards. I cannot wait for Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a tough part of that season, and it's the part of the season where you do not want to have any bad races. I feel like you could have okay races in the top 10, but you don't want to have any bad races, because if you got to go to the Roval and make something happen, it's going to be tough.
Now, you've heard us talk about we're going to be back there. You can see it Tuesday, October 14th. I've got a couple weeks off, but JR, he'll be back, I believe, next Tuesday with Soup. You're at the Phoenix Raceway for the triple bypass. Are we looking forward to that?
Phoenix is always an interesting race. There's a lot of different lines that drivers can run, and you're never quite sure who's going to win those races. It seems like you can see people dominate, and then at the end something happens and someone unexpected gets it. So that's going to be a race you definitely want to tune into and watch, because it's going to be a little unpredictable, I think.
Well, pretty quick night here on the Virtual Grip Network. That 200 laps happened in a flash, and we are going to call it a night. I'd like to thank my partner, J.R. Shepard, the dude in the back, Ryan Seneker, and last but not least, we at the Virtual Grip Network want to thank all of you for tuning in. Have a great night.